Another young player who had an impressive market value increase in the latest market value update was Endrick, the Brazilian forward who's on loan from Real Madrid at Olympic Lyon. His market value rose from 25 million euros to 35 million euros.
Listen.
Ronald, we were just discussing before we started recording here, this is his first market value increase since summer 2024 when he was still at Palmeiras in Brazil. Endrick's such an interesting player. He's obviously a player that a lot of people around the world are very interested in. Any Brazilian player who moves to Real Madrid obviously garners huge appeal around the world. And I think a lot of people, especially Real Madrid fans, will be happy to hear that he maybe has kind of turned things around and seems to be thriving at Lyon in 2026.
Yeah, it was like an earthquake in the French transfer window this winter to see a name like Endrick arrive, because of course we know the talent of Ligue 1 and the many potential of players we see in this league, but it's often like homegrown players, and we don't attract as much foreign talents. So seeing a player like him arrive in Lyon, I think it was a lot of great potential to see, because we know he's still young and he's been spotted by a team like Real Madrid. Even if it didn't really quite work out there yet, we know that in the right environment, there is a possibility to show himself in a better light. And so far, in the first three something months that he got to play for Lyon, he really managed to rise back to this, at least some standard that we will hope of such a talent, compared to his start of the season with Real Madrid, when he played probably almost like 90 minutes across 3 games. Like it was almost could almost have doubts of his capacity to adapt to a team at the middle of a season with so little playing time before. But he's been really great, especially in the first few weeks he had, I would say, with like even a hat trick in his second Ligue 1 game, and in a great period for Lyon in like January and February, especially when there were and a lot of wins in a row. And even if in the more recent weeks and games, we got to see a bit more of the other side of Endrick with some frustration or some choice, would say, what do we say, like personal choices, like he would miss the good pass at the good time or being too personal in some actions. But I guess it's sometimes also in the nature of the player, but some of his choices still manage to create some great goal opportunities, and he actually has a rather nice balance with Lyon, with 6 goals and 5 assists. So it's not too personal. Like there is still some great connections with players
Mm.
around him. Like as I've seen on social networks, Brazilian fans praise some Lyon players with how well or smooth the transitions were with Endrick in some plays. So I think it seems to be quite a great environment for him, and it's also been proven by the fact that he's been called again with the Brazil national team for this March international window, which will be the last before the World Cup. So I think he's just found a great opportunity at the great time to really put himself back on the map in a way, and that a great half season in France that will hopefully reach European places. Like Lyon is fourth right now, I think, in Ligue 1, so it's really close to the Champions League places. So if he manage to help to bring this team in Champions League and then jumps on the Brazilian roster for the World Cup, I think he will have brought himself back to a high level, and that it will be up to Madrid to think how they want to assess these players, because we know that with the managerial situation in Real Madrid, they probably will change again the organization next summer. So how will the next coach want to include Endrick, which type of position, or do they think he will require another full season on loan in Lyon or somewhere else to really gather some more playing time or stuff like that? I think it will be quite interesting to see in the next few months how Hendrik will evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I've noticed, which is quite interesting, is that he's played on that right wing in
Hmm.
some games, which is, of course, where Ryan Cherki played last season for maybe not all the time, but sometimes for Lyon. Do you think he's benefited from maybe stepping into a hole in that Lyon team left behind by Cherki? Does he perhaps even bring that kind of star quality that Cherki had beforehand last season?
Yeah, he has proven these few months in Lyon to be a bit more versatile that we would expect from him, and there has been a few gaps to fill in this team actually, because they've suffered a few injuries. Like we know the potential of players like Malik Fofana, the Belgian winger, and also Ernest Nuama, who is on the other side. Who both these wingers got really long injuries last season, which they are barely coming back from. So Lyon really needed to fill these gaps, and it's like it wasn't just an opportunity that will steal a spot in the roster. Like Lyon actually quite needed this type of players to fill this gap, because like we know the troubles they had with the owner John Textor and the Eagle Football Group last summer, that they were in the risk of relegation. So they didn't have the best transfer window last summer, and probably couldn't build the attack that they want. And now seeing talent like Endrick enter this roster and offer a lot of possibilities on a various positions, I think has been quite a relief for the coach Paulo Fonseca also to see a player of his stature to bring a bit more, I wouldn't say talent, because of course a team like Lyon always has talent, but a bit more aura in a way. Like if you go to other football fans, I tell them about Afonso Moreira, Malik Fofana, Ernest Mama, they wouldn't know about them yet. But you mentioned Endrick, that he will be the next Cherki in this team. It will click a lot more with people also, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it'll be very interesting to see how he does for the rest of the season. Then, of course, what happens to him next season. Because as you mentioned, every chance that he could feature for Brazil at the World Cup after a very strong second half of the season with Lyon.